For me, from my own experience and what I've seen, I'd say there have been sort of two key developments of noticeable change. One of which, especially in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, and it's something that Charles Manchester of the MGAA mentioned at the MGAA Conference recently, and that's a change in market conditions, a change of risk appetite, and the insurance market is in a very different condition than when it was even 12 months ago, where you have a reduced number of capacity providers writing niche lines of business, and indeed some capacity providers and insurers pulling out of particular lines of business altogether, which makes it increasingly hard for brokers to place that business because their original go-to carriers are no longer there. The second change, I think, is something that's accumulated over the past sort of 4 or 5 years, and that is regarding data and the volume of data that is now being able to be collated. How it's stored, how it's managed, how it's secured. It's on a scale and a proportion that I think is more than I think any of us experienced or believed was possible, certainly sort of 3 or 4 years ago. And that brings its own challenges and its own complications in itself, and it's just managing that data and how we utilise it that I think is an ever-increasing challenge. So at the recent MGAA conference, BLM decided that we would focus on 2 key areas, both of which are in topical discussion at the moment in the market. One is obviously the dreaded B word, Brexit, and the second is cyber. With Brexit, I think that has a massive impact on the insurance markets generally, but especially with MGAAs, and sort of raises questions about what MGAs need to be talking about and thinking about. Obviously, the situation currently is uncertain. We were supposed to pull out of Europe, and Brexit was supposed to have been achieved by the 29th of March, so obviously that's not happened. And so MGAs would be well advised to look at the contingency plans that they had in place. Obviously it depends on whether we have a hard or soft Brexit. If we have a soft Brexit and we're able to do a deal with the EU, then there's likely to be a transition phase, which will be business as usual. And then alternatively, if we are not able to reach a compromise or a deal with the EU, then there'll be a hard Brexit or no deal, which presents its own challenges. So several things that I think MGAs need to be thinking about, which they should be doing already. Looking at passporting rights and making sure that those are secure and giving them access to the single market and protecting that access to the single market, I think is pivotal. I think also looking at your supply and distribution chains, making sure, as I said, that they are Brexit proof. Looking at your claims handling functions as well as an MGA, making sure that you're happy with them and that they do what they promise to do, because that's what insureds will be looking for in the event of a claim. I think also MGAs would be well advised to use wider market intelligence and speak to their carriers that they currently have relationships with, and be part of the conversation with the carrier as to what the carrier envisages doing in the event of a hard or soft Brexit. Whether that carrier is going to be willing to provide capacity for the current lines of business that would be in contemplation or not. And again, there's emphasis on profit forecasting, which is so important for MGAs and the carrier relationship. And I think MGAs would also be well advised to look at discussions with regulators. What are regulators' concerns and fears about a hard Brexit in particular? As we envisage that a hard Brexit that may occur, we may be looking at different relationships that our country has with our foreign neighbours, specifically our transatlantic relationship with America, and I think that will come under closer scrutiny the closer we get to the 31st of October cut-off date. The EU regulators and the US regulators, I think it's fair to say, haven't seen eye to eye in recent years. There has been a degree of friction. And so if we did have a hard Brexit and we were looking towards a more American-style model, then I think MGAs need to bear that in mind and contemplate what that actually holds in terms of a regulatory environment. The second topic that we've promoted at the MGA is one of cyber. We live in a world of increasing reliance on technology, and obviously things like key data and systems can easily be corrupted, manipulated, and present their own security issues, which leads to cyber being at the forefront of businesses, specifically, but not exclusively, the SME market, which the MGA caters for. Obviously, the GDPR was at the forefront of discussions about 6 to 8 months ago when it came in last year. And that affects all types of businesses that hold personal data, and is going to be a challenge for more smaller businesses because they simply don't have the resources to cater for any particular cyber breach, and therefore the impact on them may be more chaotic and more potentially destructive.